Halfway through the first of three T20 internationals between India and the West Indies. India winning the toss, asking the West Indies to bat first, and it was a strange all innings, a very eventful first 10 overs. Batsmen we expected to come, not quite coming in. And then finally, at the end of the 20 overs, got to 157 for 7, with a couple of guys who can still strike the ball, having not even faced a single delivery. Nicholas Pooran led the way with 61 of 43 and a great debut for Ravi Bishnoi, 2 for 17 in his 4 overs. Yuzvendra Chahal also was outstanding, but doesn't find himself on the top list there. Overall, the Indian bowlers did enough to restrict the West Indies, but question is it about restricting? What is a par score based on the 20 overs we've seen? The kind of questions our expert panel on Cricbuzz Live will happily answer, or certainly we hope they will. Ajay Jadeja and Dinesh Karthik. TK, is that enough to judge from 20 overs if this total is maybe slightly below par?
I think it is about at least 15 runs below par, easily. I think there is a bit of swing in the air, so obviously fast bowlers who can swing it up front will obviously make best use of it. I think Sheldon Cottrell will be a handful initially, but apart from that, there's not so much to suggest that this score is going to be enough.
Ajay, your first reaction, we chatted on Cricbuzz Combox and we talked about how bizarre that first 10 overs was in a sense. Pooran stepped on the gas, he certainly did, but Pollard coming in as late as he did.
Oh, look, we chatted all about it, but I want to know, how did you know it was going to be 157? Because you got it spot on, didn't you?
Well, I was just banking on the West Indies doing exactly what they did today, a little confused with their approach, not putting all their guns forward, sort of having the gun in their back pocket and then shooting with arrows up front occasionally, and then a little reluctant to pull the gun out of the back pocket.
I totally agree with you. I mean, they had the firepower, but when they picked that side, and when we talked about this at the start of the innings with Austin Chase, although on the scorecard you don't see a big difference, he's only played 10 balls. It's not that the game changes there, but what it gives me is a view into their side. I mean, that's the feeling that the West Indies team probably has. If they played him, they believe that maybe we are firepower is enough, but we don't last that long. So we need to hold that innings together. So I think from over number 10 to 15, or that stage is what that thought you saw. And I think that's 15 or 20 runs short that DK was talking about. I think that's the phase where they really fell short. I was a little, it was an anomaly the way they came out in that first 10 overs. But what surprised me the most is, yes, I know they've lost 4 wickets there. But, it wasn't, where the bowlers were getting them out or something went wrong. It was in stats, it looks 4 down for 52, and that's the stage that they went slow. But I think more than the wickets, it was their mindset that slowed them down there, and they probably are those 15, 20 runs short. Having said that, I must say that this pitch has nothing like what we see at Eden Gardens. There's a lot more purchase, there's a lot more that the ball has gripped, but the bowling side that you see with the West Indies, I feel it's 15, 20 short.
DK, I'll come back to you on that. I mean, you've seen enough of these surfaces off late. Maybe sometimes it's not what you expect it to be. Expectation versus reality in your book. What was the pitch like?
Look, you have to understand, the last 4 years, 4 years ago, they had relayed the wickets and it became a beautiful batting wicket. There's a lot of bounce in it, before which it used to turn a lot. We knew the past scores were around 120, 130. Max 140 was a winning total in KKR. But from the time they relayed the wickets, I think it became more of 190, 180 was the pass score. Even if you get around 200, you can breathe a little easy sort of a situation. This wicket is not a 200 wicket, but definitely not a 155 wicket either. I think it is there around 175 is where you need to be if you want to compete. There is a bit of purchase. Just like Ajay Bhai said, I think it will turn a bit, but overall, it's not got so much demons that like they made it look in the first 10 overs for sure. Especially between 7 to 15, it takes a lot of skill to find the odd boundary, keep rotating strike, and that is the stage where if you bat cleverly, you're going to consistently post totals of 180.
Yeah, well, Karen Pollard's cameo towards the end certainly helped, but the man who held the innings together, not in the Roston Chase way, but in the sense of getting boundaries at regular intervals, was Nicholas Pooran, had been stand-in captain in the ODIs, Ajay. And certainly we found a little strange pattern early on when he'd hit 3 6s but hadn't got a strike rate in excess of 110 perhaps. Then he got going.
Yeah, it was a strange kind of innings because he opened, with that huge six of Deepak Chair. So he was middling everything, 3 6s in the first 20 runs that he got. But by the time he got to 50, when he got to 50, I think it was 37, 38 balls. And, that's something in modern day cricket, which, Nicholas Pooran, we saw what happened at the auction with him. We've seen what he does on the ground. So the expectation from him is when he has a good day, you would expect him to do it at much fewer balls. And then at the end, when you look at those stats, it looks again okay. It looks, 40 balls, 60 odd that he scored because I feel there's something in the wicket. So, again, if you just look at those stats, they don't look like, he's played, indifferently, or, he must have had a great knock with 5 6s, 4 4s, 43 balls, 60. What more can you ask for? But, it didn't hurt India. I mean, that knock also, if you look at it, it didn't really hurt. It was almost like somebody who holds the innings together. Maybe they would have scored in a different way, but with the firepower that Nicholas Pooran has, and especially West Indies, if you have a good day, then you want a little more. I'm maybe asking for a bit too much because he's averaging strike rates 140 odd, but I feel Nicholas Pooran has more to offer. So maybe I think he'd probably be disappointed with where he ended up.
Also, DK, quick one to finish on their batting order. We've already talked about Roston Chase. Akil Hussain. Now, I did mention at the start he's got a first-class 100. He can bat. But there's a difference between can bat and the kind of destruction a Shepherd, an Odin Smith, and even a Fabian Allen can do. He did hit 1-6, but he's not a natural six-hitter. So sending him up ahead of even Pollard, I mean, was that a bit of cat and mouse? No Chahal on, Venkatesh Iyer bowling. Who's going to blink first?
I don't think it was for Venkatesh Iyer. It was more for the leg spinners. I think obviously they want to try and get as many boundaries as they can through the middle phase. And a left-hander batting there, they thought that will give them a good chance of hitting boundaries, which is how the T20 games work these days. The matchups and the fact that which bowler bowls better to which sort of batsman plays a lot on their minds. And the fact that, they chose to send a bowler to go and play with a lot more free will. And KKR used to do that with Sunil Narine a lot. So I completely understand where that logic is coming from.
Just a word from both of you on India's death bowling. Obviously, this is the time when you're trying to assign different roles. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar had bowled more overs up front than we expected, but nonetheless, he did end up finishing with a decent spell. Chahar didn't bowl his full quota, and Harshal Patel bowled where we expected him to bowl, Ajay.
Yeah, Harshal Patel's been phenomenal. I mean, last IPL, then whenever he's come into the Indian side. And his strength is probably to the latter stage of the innings. In fact, Kohli, in the games that he played earlier before Rohit Sharma, I can't remember whoever was captain, they also, used him late. Today, in fact, you saw a 6th over from him, 10th over from him. RCB doesn't use him that way. They use mostly post 10th over. And, especially people who have this change of pace, and he has an amazing slower one. It gets more difficult when you're actually trying to get after them. So the effectiveness of bowlers like this, I think, is more towards the end. But maybe it was just tried at the top as well. He came and bowled 6 slower ones in the first over that he bowled, the over number 6. So that's his strength, and I think he's not. A lot of fast bowlers sometimes, even if they have that as strength, they feel a little ashamed saying, at the start of the innings, the ball's seaming. How can I, carry on bowling slow ones? But I think it's the confidence that he has with his slow ones or he's not, doesn't care about what people think, and he sticks to his strength.
Yeah, Deepak Chahar too as well, DK. I mean, we always talk about the early movement that he gets, and if he's not got that movement, maybe not that insightful. But certainly we can see him adapting more and more to situations where there may not be that much movement on offer.
Yes, I think he's a terrific cricketer. I think one of his greatest skills is his mental strength. I think from the days of Rajasthan, watching him closely, going through a major injury and coming back, I think his resilience is very high. I think one of the challenges that people have constantly spoken about him is the fact that how good he is at the death, and he's showing the world that, he is capable of it. And everybody knows he can swing the ball both ways, and he's really good at it. So he's really improved as a cricketer.
Yes, of course, with the game having got underway, we've got lots to chat about the debut of Ravi Bishnoi, which we'll do at the end of the innings. Just a quick thought to finish from both of you. DK, you said X number of runs under par. Should this be a walk in the park for Team India with the possibility of a little bit of moisture around for the bowlers?
I do think it'll be a pretty easy chase. I'm looking that India should be able to get this around the 17th, 18th over.
Couple of familiar names batting together, mates in Rohit Sharma, Ishan Kishan. Not a bad thing in KL Rahul's absence right now that they sort of familiarize themselves, or they're already familiar with each other, but to just get this platform for Team India, Ajay.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to have a partner, especially when you're opening, who understand each other. And Rohit seems to love playing with Ishan anyway. I mean, he's made it very clear. Probably takes a lot of pressure off as well. Young man at the other end. Most experienced players that I've known in the past, openers, whether it's all the greats as well, they always like a younger man at the other end who's fearless, who's going to go out there and take all the pressure off them. And the senior man will do his job. So an ideal pair as well.
Well, that's the pair that are out there for Team India. Sheldon Cottrell with the opening over. We'll have to keep an eye on the dew if it does set in later in the day. I'm a couple of kilometers down the road and I went downstairs to the little grassy patch we had in the building and it's pretty wet down there as well. Whether or not that translates to the Eden Gardens is a different matter, but I just thought I could do my bit to try and assess that. For the moment, we feel advantage to Team India. Thank you, Ajay. Thank you, DK. We'll see all of you at the end, but before that in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox. That's all from Cricbuzz Live.